When these three constables were sent to serve an eviction notice, they totally became a caricature of what they were meant to represent. It's the worst thing you'll see when people who should uphold the law become the worst of themselves and steal from the citizens who they ought to protect.
Put him in my shirt.
To show how irresponsible they are, they didn't know one of their body cams had been turned on accidentally and captured the officers stealing items from the home where they'd served an eviction notice. From wristwatches to other valuables within the home. You can hear the female officer's excited voice as they comb through the house like low-life thieves.
We done got hot. They can come in. Yeah, just hot.
These are worse than thieves. They're worse than criminals, and the one comfort to take away from this is that they were made to face the consequences of their actions.
After waking up and checking their outdoor security camera, a family in New Mexico had no idea what they were about to see. In the footage, a man lurks outside on the family's porch for approximately around 6 hours. He arrived around 12 a.m. and left at 6 a.m. after a light turned on in the house. Throughout the 6 hours, the man did a number of creepy things. He smoked, walked around their garage, paced back and forth on the porch, and finally dropped his pants and exposed his backside to the camera.
Streaming out in public, Sushi Potato deals with strange people in crowds. This time, a man tries soliciting her for sex all of a sudden, only to have her pull away quickly and get herself somewhere else.
Sex with you.
What? Wait, what?
The stream, however, catches as the man starts grabbing at her, refusing to let her leave, as he explains he wasn't asking for sex. He says he was asking if she would have sex with someone else, but she's uncomfortable and still tries to get away.
Okay, we're going. Oh, okay,
No,
don't
no.
touch me. All right, get it off. Oi, get off me.
Peach,
Oi, get off me,
Peach.
buddy.
This time, he grabs her leg, and she starts shouting until he lets go. Thankfully, she gets away, but if she hadn't been so quick, she might not have been able to.
Terrifying animal encounters captured on camera.
Run! Run, Daniel! Run! Run!
To the dark door.
Scary Karens ruining other people's day. In this 2021 YouTube video, a woman can be seen approaching another woman who's training on the monkey bars, apparently irritated that her shirt was hanging over her head, claiming she's half naked.
Oh no, keep no clothing. That is totally revealing. I'm gonna have you exercise that. I don't get it.
She starts yelling at her as everyone in the park asks her to stop making a scene. She continues, however, pulling the woman's hula hoop off of her and tossing it on the ground,
Get down. What are you doing?
causing an escalation.
I mean, don't touch me. I leave.
Hey, you're gonna be a TikTok. You want to Let me show you what you can do for a TikTok.
Scary home intruders caught on camera. This security footage shows an intruder walking around a house looking for various valuables. The guy had only broken into the house seconds earlier by smashing a window while the house owner's kid and their babysitter were out running errands. When the two return home, the kid can be seen walking around the kitchen, but when the babysitter hears footsteps upstairs, she can be seen frantically grabbing the kid and running outside to the neighbor's house, followed by the intruder running away. Disturbing things caught at gas stations. The video was captured through one of the CCTV cameras in the station. The station operator Ahmed Abudaria noticed something strange while he was going through the video footage of the station. Abudaria noticed a misty blue shape hovering in the air next to one of the fuel pumps. It stayed there for half an hour. But the mist does not stay in one place, rather, it floats away. Later it comes back into focus, hovering over the windshield of one of the cars at the station. It then again floats away. This left Abudaria scratching his head, wondering what the blue mist could be. Scary stalkers caught on camera. This scared man was recording a video with his phone saying that someone was following him.
I'm pretty sure I'm being followed. I've been taking a rather circuitous route. See that woman back there? I've been taking a rather circuitous route around. And she got interested in what I was up to.
This woman was returning home when suddenly... This woman was peacefully walking around with her son, but then... Terrifying moments caught on planes. All the passengers on this flight were terrified because of this. This flight assistant was inspecting a plane at night when he notices something horrifying.
No, mommy.
This passenger was recording the sky from the plane, when suddenly...
Okay, what is that? Holy crap.
Scary urban legends that were caught on camera. Strange experiences with scammers caught on camera. In this video, two women are shown on the aircraft while one adjusts a massive fake pregnant stomach. The woman beside her quickly calls her out for it, but she tells her to mind her business, that it doesn't concern her.
Why does this matter to you? This doesn't affect you literally at all.
The woman becomes increasingly irate as a steward comes to escort the pregnancy scammer to first class.
She's not pregnant. She's not pregnant.
Your business. She is pregnant. I'm gonna take her up to.
No one will seemingly listen to her, but as the man helps the woman to her feet, her seat neighbor reaches over. The two scuffle as the blonde woman yanks her shirt up.
Look.
Do not look. Do not.
ma'am.
It's trying to take my clothes off.
Ma'am.
The movement causes the belly to fall loose, exposing her scam. The steward allows the woman who caught the scammer to move to first class, leaving the scammer alone in her seat. Scariest moments caught on GoPro camera. In this 2014 GoPro footage, a man is in the woods returning a moose to its natural habitat after some routine veterinary checks. He watches as the moose gets slowly up while telling it to move away, but suddenly, the moose starts to violently charge at the man without any apparent reason. The animal then proceeds to stomp him on the ground, although the man fortunately manages to stand back up, and with the moose still ready to charge, he succeeds to get the animal run away by throwing objects at it. I need your help, my friends of TikTok. Yesterday I was looking for some new cool topics and clips in order to edit a couple of videos for the page when suddenly, I came across a legendary internet piece.
It's so narrow at the bottom. I have always wondered whether it was real or staged. The only information I could find about this clip was this.
I'm serious. Why? Why do people think it's okay to laugh at this? I don't see the humor. My name is Roger Sims, not That Guy Gets Owned.
Scary moments of people being followed home. This woman was returning home with her dog, when suddenly, this woman was returning home with her baby, but she wasn't alone. Scary stalkers caught on camera. This scary video was uploaded to TikTok in 2021 by TikToker Hey It's Phoebes, and shows the TikToker being filmed by her doorbell camera as she returns home. She can be seen opening the door, entering, and closing the door behind her. A few minutes later, a mysterious man can be seen pacing up and down the stairs in front of the TikToker's door. He tries to disguise his presence, and shortly after, he turns back around and walks right in front of the girl's door, casting a glance at the doorbell camera. He then puts on his hood, perhaps to avoid being recognized, and starts looking around, only to leave shortly after.
In 2019, a young girl was followed for several blocks by a man in his car as she was walking home from school. This is literally every parent's worst nightmare. Fortunately, the little girl was smart and was able to get away. The incident was captured on a neighbor's outdoor security camera. The young girl was aware of the car following her, so when she walked past a big truck parked on the street, she hid behind it. The man in the vehicle waited for her to come out from behind the truck for a couple of minutes, and then he pulled away. The little girl stayed hidden behind the trucks, which was a good decision because the man turned around and tried to look for her again. He even tried to ask her a question about school, but she stayed quiet and stayed hidden. The man eventually gave up and drove off, and the girl sprinted the rest of the way home. Had she not been aware of her surroundings, there's no telling what could have happened to her.
Worst ways characters have died in kids' movies. Coral and the Baby Fishes, from Finding Nemo.
What if they don't like me?
Marlin, there's over 400 eggs. Odds are one of them is bound to like you. What?
You remember how we met? Cutie's here. Where'd everybody go?
Scary stalkers caught on camera. In 2019, a young girl was followed for several blocks by a man in his car as she was walking home from school. The incident was captured on a neighbor's outdoor security camera. The young girl was aware of the car following her, so when she walked past a big truck parked on the street, she hid behind it. The man in the vehicle waited for her to come out from behind the truck for a couple of minutes, and then he pulled away.
The little girl stayed hidden behind the truck, which was a good decision because the man turned around and tried to look for her again. He even tried to ask her a question about school, but she stayed quiet and stayed hidden. The man eventually gave up and drove off, and the girl sprinted the rest of the way home. Scary stalkers caught on camera. In this scary video uploaded by 12 News in 2019, a boy is walking calmly to his front door after a day at school. As the boy heads to the entrance, a suspicious red truck can be seen across the street, seemingly waiting for the boy to enter the house. In fact, as soon as the boy walks in, the truck parks right in front of the house. A man then gets out of the van and hurriedly walks towards the front door, trying to open it without a second thought. After several attempts, the man notices the doorbell security camera and decides to drive quickly away. Scary stalkers caught on camera. This weird man has been spying on a nearby pool party for hours with his phone.
He's just like hiding behind a bush, taking pictures, and then when someone walks by, he pretends to be on his phone.
This scary old lady doesn't let two boys leave with their car.
We want to move our vehicular. Yes. Yes, what do you want?
A guy is recording his stalker using binoculars in his window's direction.
Oh shit.
Would you be prepared for a potential carjacking? Probably not. Thankfully, most of us will never have to deal with that in our lives. The thing is, if you're not prepared, you're at risk. This man learned that firsthand. While getting gas, a would-be carjacker approaches a car, immediately pulling out a gun and brandishing it towards the victims. This is reportedly nothing more than a few people giving each other dirty looks that turn into a much bigger production. The guy in orange starts shooting, and the people in the car quickly return to their car and go in reverse to escape. They ran in no small part because of their quick thinking. How do you think they'd fare? Are you short on your feet?
While meeting some fans, this streamer was quick to act, as these girls were being tailed by a creepy man they didn't know anything about.
We're helping save her right now from...
He stuck around, watching, ensuring they were okay, to ensure the creepy man didn't do something to the seemingly uninebriated girls. The guy lurks just a few steps away from them, watching, and waiting for the streamers to leave. Eventually, the group leaves together, keeping an eye on the girls and getting them to safety.
I know you like that. And then she never saw her.
Disturbing Easter eggs in video games. In the 1997 first-person shooter Outlaws, you can find something outright disturbing in a seemingly ordinary outhouse in the first level of the game. In fact, if you blow up the toilet with a piece of dynamite, you will find a secret path underwater. If you follow the path, you will reach a secret room where you will find a weird surprise.
Being live on the internet can catch some insane things. This man was speaking live when you see someone running in the back. The thief quickly approaches with a gun to the man's head, forcing him out of the car.
I'm so scared because they have a gun. They need to shoot me. They say to get off your car. They take my car.
Then, having stolen his wallet, he jumps into the car and begins driving away. He's clearly paranoid, looking around, driving quickly, not having noticed the phone recording his every movement. Eventually he does, but it's long after his face has been revealed from under his mask, and likely reported or screenshotted dozens of times. They eventually found the car, stripped and abandoned, with no thief in sight. He made off with the tags, the keys, and more.
Disturbing Easter eggs in video games. In the classic multiplayer world of Worldcraft, you can find something outright terrifying if you head to Goldshire at 7 AM server time. In fact, you will see 6 spooky children leaving their house and running around the surrounding area in a pentagram formation before returning to their house at around 7:40 AM. If you follow the children into their house and up onto the second floor, you will usually be greeted in a very disturbing way.
You will die.
First deaths in history. The Siamese twins. Daisy and Violet Hilton were English entertainers, who were Siamese twins. In 1969, after they failed to report to work, their boss called the police. The twins were found dead in their home, victims of the Hong Kong flu. According to a forensic investigation, Daisy died first. Violet remained alive and attached to her dead sister several days before they were both found dead. I bet you don't know what happened a few days ago to Queen Elizabeth. On Christmas morning, a 19-year-old intruder was found around 500 meters away from the Queen's private chambers and was arrested outside Windsor Castle, nearly 24 minutes after a suspicious pre-recorded video surfaced on social media. In the clip, the suspect can be seen mentioning his plan to attack the Queen to avenge a 1919 massacre in India. He could be seen armed with a crossbow, wearing a black hoodie and a Star Wars-inspired mask. Disturbing things caught by Twitch streamers. In this 2020 Twitch clip,
the streamer Pokimane is peacefully streaming in front of her whole audience, unaware that something strange is actually happening behind her. In fact, a few minutes into her stream, someone can be seen in the top left corner coming in through the door. The streamer doesn't seem to see it happening while the intruder, wearing all black, sneaks in and then slinks right back out, full of things in his hands. As the robbing continues, her audience starts donating money to tell her what's happening, but still, she doesn't get what they're saying.
Guys, I actually cannot tell if you guys are trolling.
Luckily, as the video ends, she finally sees the intruder, clarifying that this was just a staged joke.
Alright everybody, say hi YouTube.
Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In a 1987 banned episode of Mighty Mouse: The New Adventures, a lobster is attacking an anthill, and Mighty Mouse decides to help the ants get rid of the intruder. He pretends to be a female crustacean and the lobster, falling in the trap, goes away. Later that night, the ants and Mighty Mouse are celebrating the victory around a big fire when suddenly, Mighty Mouse does a very weird and controversial thing, showing us the reason why the episode was banned.
I know someone else like that.
It's rumored that in North Korea they have their citizens act out certain roles or jobs to make the country seem a lot better than it is to foreigners. This video may help prove that. The video was taken in downtown Pyongyang, and the sidewalks are bustling with people. The person taking the video turns to show the street traffic. Standing along the street is a traffic control officer, and she turns around and seems to notice that she's being filmed. She turns back to the street and starts blowing on her whistle and waving her flag. However, despite her looking like she's directing traffic, she isn't actually doing anything. The cars keep driving past and the people keep walking by. It's almost as if she's putting on a show for the camera.
Disturbing moments caught on live TV. In this 2005 live footage, a news channel was broadcasting live the emergency landing of flight JetBlue 292. In fact, after taking off from Bob Hope Airport in California, its pilots immediately noticed that something was wrong. Due to a malfunction, they were unable to retract the landing gear, and after informing officials in the local control tower, they decided to attempt an emergency landing at the Los Angeles airport. Fortunately, the plane eventually landed successfully under the watchful eyes of millions of TV viewers, leaving all its passengers unharmed. The man who killed Halloween. On a rainy Halloween night in 1974, little Timothy O'Brien was out knocking on doors with his father Ronald. Soon after, Timothy began to complain that his stomach hurt, and ran to the bathroom, where he began vomiting and convulsing. When the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Timothy died en route to the hospital in less than an hour. It was later found that one of the candies he ate was laced with cyanide by his father Ronald, in order to claim the life insurance money and ease his own financial troubles. Horrifying things caught at gas stations. The surveillance camera captures the interior of the store at night. You can see there are no activities going on in there, no employee or management can be seen within the store. Now look to the top right corner and you'll see when the break-in started, something is happening, and in a moment, you'll see a man run into the store, climb over the counter and quickly rummage through, grabbing the things he wanted. Another figure soon follows behind him, this time, a female who jumps over the counter as well and grabs what she wants before making her way out of the store through the same opening they had made to the right. To show you a disturbing video. What is this thing? It definitely doesn't look like a human being. Also, it doesn't look fake at all. Disturbing things caught by drones. In this 2016 drone footage, a noisy drone is recording from behind a young girl who is trying to focus on her next golf shot. Obviously annoyed, the girl gives the drone a first glare over her shoulder, hoping the drone will move away. Unfortunately, the drone pilot doesn't seem to understand and keeps recording her from behind, making her miss her next shot. The girl again gives the drone a dirty look, which still doesn't seem to want to move, and suddenly... What will happen in 1 million years? In 1,000 years from now, due to the rapid evolution of languages, no single present-day word will have survived. In 2,000 years, Chernobyl will be finally safe. In 50,000 years, Niagara Falls will disappear. In 500,000 years, there will be a new global freeze. In 1 million years, all glasses created today will have finally degraded. Disturbing moments caught on Twitch live stream. A man from the background comes forward and whispers something into this streamer's ear. She's surprised by the intrusion but also on stream, so she doesn't respond. However, he starts messing with her things from off camera, which puts her on edge. She gets increasingly more uncomfortable as she continues to sit there. It's unclear what the man must have said to her, but it was enough to put her on edge for the rest of the clip. Terrifying videos that simply shouldn't exist. In this 2022 video, a man is filming the stunning York Minster Cathedral on a sunny day, while its bells are ringing loudly. The cameraman proceeds to scan the cathedral while walking toward it, and a shot later, he continues on his way down a narrow shops lane. He keeps filming both sides of the shops lane when suddenly, the window on the top left attracts his attention. As the cameraman zooms in, a ghostly pale face of a small child can be seen looking out the window, disappearing shortly after. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1933 episode of Betty Boop, Betty is visiting a small village in the mountains when suddenly, all the villagers start to pack up their things and flee their homes terrified. Confused, Betty asks a passing owl who explains that the old man of the mountain is threatening the livelihood of the villagers, particularly the women. Despite the owl's warnings, Betty is curious and decides to trek up the mountainside to find out who is the old man. Once Betty gets to the top of the mountain, the old man of the mountain emerges from behind a rock, showing us a very controversial scene that led to the episode being banned.
When this police officer pulled this driver over, the usual exchange between a driver and cop is expected to take place.
What's going on? I'll be happy to tell you once I see who I'm talking to, alright?
But what happens is a show of ego and a messy arrest that could have been managed better if the officer didn't think he had absolute authority to do as he pleases.
I need you to let me know, like, what's going on, like, what happened? Like I said, I'd be happy to tell you once I see information.
He asks the driver for identification, and the driver asks to know what his offense is. The officer isn't obliged to answer the driver's question. He should do as he's told and not ask counter questions. Classic dictator vibes, but that's the least of it.
I'm not giving you my information until you tell me what you pulled me over for.
Now the officer is determined to teach the driver a lesson in manners and calls reinforcements. The arrest is a full-blown violent affair where the officer shatters the glass with his hand and forcefully pulls the driver out of the car with the help of his partner.
Digital immortality. Many scientists believe that by 2045, humans will achieve digital immortality by uploading their minds, thoughts, and even memories in more durable media, like a computer. The result might look like an avatar behaving, reacting, and thinking like a person on the basis of that person's digital archive.
The Toy Story characters seem to have no luck when it comes to malfunctions. The Buzz Lightyear animatronic at Disneyland Paris experienced a malfunction that many guests found to be a little disturbing.
Scanners detecting Mark Tuttle and Second Minus. The evil Emperor Zurg.
The animatronic's face completely disappeared, leaving an eerily faceless Buzz Lightyear to welcome guests onto his attraction.
Without those cells, we'll all be...
Terrifying things caught at McDonald's. Kennesaw police went to this McDonald's to calm down a rapidly escalating situation.
So why'd y'all call? So like what happened?
Because we ordered the food, he couldn't print us a receipt.
Okay.
So he said the receipt would be printed in the back.
The man who called came up, complaining to the cops that the fries he'd gotten were cold, and he wanted a refund.
You know, I tried to fry the fries, they're lukewarm, but they're not hot.
He was kicked out of the establishment when he pitched a fit and decided to escalate further. The police officer, just doing his job, asks for the victim's ID. He refuses, but tells his name instead.
Alright, spell your last name for me.
Simes.
Okay.
After a quick touch base with the manager, the police officer rejoins the man outside and is quickly forced to call for backup. The body cam catches as he realizes just who he's got his hands on, presumed armed, dangerous, and wanted for alleged murder.
Alright, Mr. Sims, come over here. I'm gonna have you sign this.
I'm not under arrest or anything, am I?
No, sir. Just come over here. I'm gonna have you sign this real quick.
I said I'm not under arrest or anything.
No, you're not. Yeah, just come over here. I'm gonna have you sign this real quick.
I'm afraid of y'all, sir.
Why are you afraid?
3 years, sir. I'm afraid of you.
Alright, I'm gonna walk you through. Why are you doing that?
I know how to fill it out.
Why are you doing that?
I know how to fill it. Am I arrested?
Yeah.
No, let's meet him.
In this video, a man walks down the middle of a street directly towards a car. The car tries to move out of the man's way so as not to hit him, but the man walks as close to the car as he possibly can. As it starts pulling away, the man reaches out a hand to hit the car, then falls to the ground as though he's been hit. The driver gets out to check on the man. The man gets up and acts as though his arm has been severely injured. However, he uses the injured hand to open the driver's car door and get inside the vehicle so that the driver can't drive away before the police arrive. The driver notices a CCTV camera recording the street. He points it out to the scammer. When the scammer sees the CCTV camera, he acts like nothing happened and walks away. Apparently, the police in Florida have upgraded a cane to join the list of well-known lethal weapons. In this video, we see a blind man being asked to identify himself based entirely upon the suspicion that he was carrying a concealed weapon. When he whips out the alleged concealed weapon, it appears to be the cane that he uses to find his way because he's legally blind. These officers are undeterred and go ahead to arrest the blind man when he insists that he has no reason to identify himself. The most heartbreaking part of this whole debacle is that the man being harassed was coming from jury duty. He was a totally law-abiding citizen and had just performed his civic duty, receiving this sort of treatment from the police, which is really quite pathetic.
Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1933 episode of Betty Boop, Betty is visiting a small village in the mountains when suddenly, all the villagers start to pack up their things and flee their homes terrified. Confused, Betty asks a passing owl who explains that the old man of the mountain is threatening the livelihood of the villagers, particularly the women. Despite the owl's warnings, Betty is curious and decides to trek up the mountainside to find out who is the old man. Once Betty gets to the top of the mountain, the old man of the mountain emerges from behind a rock, showing us a very controversial scene that led to the episode being banned. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1995 episode of Cow and Chicken, Chicken is watching TV and Cow keeps bothering him, wanting to play a game. After a while, Chicken starts to have enough of his sister and goes to tell Mom and Dad about the situation. Mom and Dad don't believe him and force Chicken to apologize to his sister. The episode was banned due to the next scene in which, in order to convince Chicken to play, Cow threatens him to tell Mom and Dad about his smoking habit. What's the problem? According to Cartoon Network, Chicken would only be 11 years old. Disturbing deleted scenes from kids' movies that were luckily cut. A deleted scene from the 2016 kids' movie Zootopia would have reportedly followed Judy and Nick sneaking through a building during the taming party of a little bear. They can be seen watching as Daddy Bear presents his son with his tame collar and makes him repeat a speech.
With this collar, Zootopia accepts me.
At first, Daddy Bear hesitates to put it on the little bear, but finally snaps the collar on his neck.
Thank you, Papa.
The little bear enjoys himself until his tame collar shocks him as it's designed to zap him anytime he shows too much emotion.
Morris!
5 signs you are a reincarnation. You have memories of childhood events that your parents know never really happened. You regularly experience déjà vu. You have recurring dreams or nightmares. You have aches and pains that the doctors cannot quite pinpoint or explain medically. You have multiple irrational phobias. Disturbing Easter eggs in video games. In the 2008 action role-playing video game Fable 2, something terrifying will happen if you happen to cross the Bloodstone Demon door. In fact, right after crossing the door, you will find yourself in front of a path in the snow. If you follow the path, you will find a seemingly normal and lovely wintry cabin. If you cross the door, however, disturbing things caught at Disney parks. A creepy animatronic malfunction on the Frozen ride was when the ride had also broken down, and Olaf the snowman and Sven the reindeer appeared to be staring lovingly into each other's eyes instead of interacting with the audience. Because Disney has more advanced animatronics than ever before, even if the ride breaks down, the animatronics can still move. Park goers have started to experience more moments of animatronics doing something other than what they're supposed to do, making the robots seem more lifelike. Worst deaths in history. Part 2. Ishikawa Goemon was a legendary Japanese outlaw hero. He was sentenced to death, along with his infant son, and boiled alive in a huge iron kettle, while holding his infant son above the water. When he couldn't hold his son up any longer, he plunged his child under the water to kill him as quickly as possible.
In 2008, CCTV footage was released on YouTube and it went viral. What it showed was some sort of creature or paranormal entity walking on 2 legs with only a head, no arms, and no torso. The footage was later disregarded as it was too compressed and pixelated to tell whether or not it had been tampered with, although most said it looked too real to be CGI. 3 years later, in 2011, a couple was having trouble with break-ins near Yosemite National Park in California, so they pointed their security camera toward the driveway, and what they captured was very similar to the footage in 2008. Take a look. Still don't believe? Well, apparently these stick-like creatures had a link to ancient Native American Indians, as you can see carvings out of trees that were done by them hundreds of years ago. Now what do you think?
After a walk with her dog, a woman notices that a man has followed her into her yard. Her doorbell camera recorded the entire incident. In the video, the woman picks up her dog and rushes inside her house after she sees the man behind her. Luckily, she locked her door, because the man walks up to the house and tries to get in. He tries to talk to her as he wiggles the doorknob. The woman called the police, but they didn't get to her house until 15 minutes later. The man was not even arrested, as police said trespassing is only a citation and he just needs to be seen in court. Disturbing moments caught on live TV. In this 2010 live footage, a German poker tournament is taking place in Berlin when one player can be seen suddenly looking over his shoulder as the studio audience begins quickly to inexplicably clear out. Screams of panic meanwhile fill the room, eventually leading the players themselves to leave the table. It would later turn out that an armed robbery was occurring on the premises, with the thieves ultimately making out with the tournament's jackpot. Controversial cartoon episodes that were banned. In this 1933 episode of Betty Boop, Betty is visiting a small village in the mountains when suddenly, all the villagers start to pack up their things and flee their homes terrified. Confused, Betty asks a passing owl who explains that the old man of the mountain is threatening the livelihood of the villagers, particularly the women. Despite the owl's warnings, Betty is curious and decides to trek up the mountainside to find out who is the old man. Once Betty gets to the top of the mountain, the old man of the mountain emerges from behind a rock, showing us a very controversial scene that led to the episode being banned. Disturbing home intruders caught on camera. This 2016 footage shows an intruder breaking into a Miami home for 3 nights in a row once he discovered no one was home. The CCTV footage reveals his actions, including him stealing TVs, bicycles, and computers, all in broad daylight. As this wasn't enough, the hungry intruder can be also seen raiding the refrigerator and eating an entire cheesecake. Luckily, nothing serious happened as the home was empty at the time of the break-in. Disturbing things caught in elevators. More than an elevator failing, many people fear being trapped in one. People are afraid of this happening for meter seconds, but what about 41 hours? That's what happened to Nicholas White, whose elevator got stuck in the middle of its trip. 41 hours, and there was nothing he could do to help himself. Quickly, he begins to run around erratically. At about 4 hours, the man lies down, waiting to see what happens next. We can see maintenance trying to get him in the other elevator shots. By 20 hours, they've made no real progress. The man begins messing with things from his pockets before opening the doors. At about 34 hours, he climbs, seemingly looking for another way out. Clearly not satisfied or otherwise unable, he continues his cycle of laying down, running around, pacing, prying the doors open, and so much more. Before the 41-hour mark, he's finally released from this unfortunate circumstance, and they block the elevator off from further use. Disturbing near-death moments caught on camera. This guy had just jumped into the water when suddenly 2 women had just walked past this building when this happened. This man was peacefully sitting on a wall facing the sea when out of the blue. Disturbing things found by TikTokers. This scary video was uploaded on TikTok in 2020 by a girl who was dancing one of the many trends. Everything proceeds as expected when suddenly, the girl stops dancing and looks to the right terrified. The girl can be heard talking to an unidentified man, asking him who he is and what he does in her house.
Who are you? Please get out. Please get out. No, please get out!
The girl then begins to back out while telling the mysterious person to go away, while the intruder doesn't want to leave. The scared girl then takes her phone in her hand, heads to the front door, and finally records the intruder, a mysterious man in a red sweatshirt hiding behind a door. Disturbing things caught at Disney parks. During the Carnival of Stars parade at Disneyland Hong Kong, the character Shelly May stops dancing with the other characters in the parade. She starts drooping over like she's going to fall, but no one seems to notice. When she finally does fall, a character attendant calls over other attendants and they carry her away from the parade. The video is actually very concerning, because none of the character attendants removed the character's mask to see if she was okay. During a Disneyland parade, Disney fans were surprised to see Maleficent's float on fire. At first, it's hard to tell if it's part of the show or not. The float is in the shape of a large dragon. The top of the dragon's head was completely on fire, but it actually looked really cool and like it could be part of the show. When burning pieces of the float started falling to the ground, the parade watchers realized that the fire was not a part of the show. A park attendant tries to put out the flames using a small fire extinguisher, but it doesn't do anything to minimize the flames. Finally, they get a large fire extinguisher and are able to put out the fire.